Today we're continuing on in Unfinished Tales with Coming of Glaurung. If you're new here, welcome to Heart of Halfling, where we talk about Lord of the Rings and do some Lord of the Ring things. So let's get started. So last we left off, we were reading about Turin and Nienniel's relationship and how they got married. There you go. So now in this section we have Glaurung, who's been at Nargothrond for a year, and he's been gathering orcs closer to him. And this is becoming a concern for Brethil because the more orcs, the closer they are to Brethil, and the more attacks Brethil is getting. And the thing is that they are the last standing of free men. And so this is a concern that more orcs are coming by. And they're getting more attacks. And Dorlas has a group of woodmen that he's leading. And they are trying to keep the orcs at bay. But eventually it's too much for them. And Dorlas and only a few men are able to escape from attack. And Dorlas comes to Turin and he goes, "Hey, you wanted to be one of us. You wanted us to pretend like you were of our people. So be of our people. Come and help us. We're being slaughtered out here. Like, if they keep coming closer, we're going to lose Brethil and everything that we have." So Turin's like, okay. So he unsheaths Glaurung and he goes out to fight. And it says that this attack on the orcs is intense, and that very few orcs even make it back to Glaurung and to Morgoth. And everything seems to be okay now. Like, he's been able to push them all back. But it says that Turin is now like, okay, the die has been cast. I've pulled out Glaurung. It's only a matter of time before Glaurung knows where I am. And so Turin is like, okay, I'm not going to run anymore. I'm going to stay and I'm going to fight. And so he's starting to gather the trust and the leadership of the men. And because they're following Turin, they're not heeding the warnings of Brandir. Brandir would rather the men be kind of keeping to themselves, stay hidden, and try to fortify their little group as best they can for as long as they can until it's time to flee. But because Turin has been able to push the orcs back and slay most of them, there's a moment of peace. And in the springtime, Nienniel reveals that she is pregnant. But it says that she's become pale and wan, and her happiness is dimming away. And that soon they know that something is coming. So Turin had set up some scouts just to keep a watch on the borders. And they come and they tell him, that there have been pillars of smoke from Nargothrond. They're getting closer. And at first, they're not really sure what it is. But as the pillars get closer, they realize it's Glaurung. And at first, the men are like, okay, cool. He's on the move. He doesn't have an army anymore. Turin killed all of them, so we should be good, right? Glaurung is just going back to Angband, going back to Morgoth. And they seem to be okay for a little while. But Turin doesn't have the same hope as everybody else does. He knows that Glaurung is looking for him. And he tries to keep this concern hidden even from Nienniel, but the whole time he's like, okay, Glaurung's coming for me. And as time goes by, the men realize that Glaurung is not going towards Angband like they had expected, but rather is coming closer to them. And they're concerned about this. Well, Turin's like, well, we should actually be hopeful in this, and I think I have a plan, but it's going to require you guys to be of hearty hearts. And nobody really understands this, and it seems really odd that he would be glad that a dragon is coming closer to him. But Turin has made a promise to himself that he was going to stay and he was going to slay the dragon. So the river Teglin flows from arid Wethrin, and it says it flows just as fast as Narog. But there's points where there's a low shore until it gets closer to where other rivers kind of come together. And in these low shores, we have gorges. And so Turin is hoping that Glaurung will, continue in the path that he's going and will go through one of these gorges, and that might be helpful in him in slaying the dragon. So Turin now gathers up some woodmen. They go to Brandir, and he's telling them that a great peril is coming their way, and that they need to be very cunning in what they do next and hope that fortune is on their side. And basically, if they all gather together as an army to try and attack Glaurung, this will be the end of them. They will be destroyed if they do that, and no one will be left to defend their wives or kin. So this is not a great idea. And so he tells them that it would be better for them to stay where they are and prepare to escape as soon as Glaurung gets closer, to flee, and that all of his treasures in Nargothrond, so he probably won't go too far from where he already is. Well, this isn't exactly what everybody wants to hear. And Turin's like, no. That's worst case scenario. Glaurung gets closer and we have to flee. He's like, what I would like to do instead is to actually fight Glaurung. And he says that he believes that the dragon isn't unconquerable because of the tales of the dwarves and the Nirnaeth. That we have Osgal of Belagast, who comes in, and the dwarves with their frightening helmets are able to attack on Glaurung. They're able to put thorns in his sides, and to the point where Glaurung has to actually flee from the dragon, or from the dwarves. And so when he says, that he now says that he has a sharper thorn than the knife of Osgal, and he pulls out Gerthing and holds it up, and everybody starts shouting, the black thorn of Brethel, the black thorn of Brethel. And so now everybody's their hopes are all up, their hopes are all on Turin now to defeat this dragon. And so Turin says, I only need a few strong men to come with me, who will join me. And Dorlas, stands up and says, I'm going to go with you. I would go, I'll go anywhere with you. And that's it. No one else says that they want to join Turin in this, and everybody stays real quiet. So Dorlas shouts out, why is nobody else wanting to speak up? The councils of Brandir are in vain. Like, we can't just sit here and hide. There's no escape now. Like, we need to go and fight. And this upsets Brandir because it kind of puts down his leadership. And a kinsman of Brandir, Hunthor, stands up and he's like, hey, don't speak this way about our leader, our mayor, essentially. And says that if it weren't for his crippledness, his illness in his limbs, that he would probably go and be more willing to fight. And basically, Hunthor says that the reason that Glaurung comes to them is because they've betrayed themselves and revealing themselves. And so this is the cause of all their fear. And he says, but you know what? I will go on behalf of the House of Haleth. And Turin says, yeah, cool, that's enough. Me, Dorlas, and Hunthor, that's all I really needed. And he's like, and I'm not speaking ill of Brandir. Dorlas isn't speaking ill of Brandir. We need a healer, we need a leader, we need somebody of wisdom, and that's what Brandir provides. And so he needs to be here with everybody else. Well, this doesn't make Brandir feel any better. It actually makes him more bitter. But he says, okay, fine, you guys go, but you're not going with my blessing, because anywhere Turin goes, darkness follows. So now Turin is getting ready to go. He's getting his stuff ready. He's going to leave immediately. And Niniel comes up to him and she's like, please don't leave. Don't go fighting a shadow that you've already cast off. Please just stay here with us. We can, and talk about her and the child, saying like, stay here with us. We can, flee and make a home elsewhere. And Turin's like, Niniel, we can't flee. We can't abandon these people who have brought us in. And two, where else are we going to go? We're about to have a child. I can't allow you to go and live out in the woods homeless and endanger you and our child. He's like, no, I have to go and fight the dragon. And Niniel says that she's been weeping during this whole time, and when she realizes she's like his mind is made, she stops weeping and gives him a kiss, but that it's cold and withdrawn. Like, she's not happy with what's happening. But nonetheless, Turin, Dorlas, and Hunthor now are beginning to leave and go off to find the dragon. And the scouts now come to Turin and are like, hey, you're leaving just in time, because the dragon is getting closer and is now on the brink of Teeklan, and that he seems to be moving primarily at night. And Turin's like, okay, cool, we're gonna start heading that way. And he realizes that Glaurung is going towards Cabot Anras, and he thinks to himself, oh, is he going around Howdath Enlith? Is Finduilas still between me and my doom? And it's kind of just this moment of reflection for Turin. But anyways, they continue on, and they get to a point, and Dorlas is concerned with the direction that Turin is taking them, because in the area that they're in, it's difficult terrain and it's difficult in the daylight when you can see everything. There's like a cliff on one side, and then a drop on the other side, and it's just not an easy path, and it's not easy during the daylight when you can see. And Turin is wanting to travel by nighttime, and so Dorlas is getting kind of concerned about this, because he's like, I really know this area pretty well. Turin, we shouldn't be taking this route now when we can't see anything. And Turin is holding his ground, saying, no, we are going to go and find the dragon. And so Dorlas is like, okay, cool, I guess that's what we're doing. And so they are continuing on to try and find and catch up to Glaurung. Now, Niniel is at home, upset that her husband has now left to go and fight this dragon. Brandir is trying to comfort her and saying, not to fear the worst, and says kind of a I told you so sort of thing. And Niniel is like, yeah, it doesn't matter if I was married or not married, if I was pregnant or not pregnant. I would still be upset that Turin was going off, or Turambar was going off to fight this dragon. And Brandir is like, yeah, I get that, but like, just still, maybe if you weren't married. And she's like, I'm 2 months pregnant. Get over it kind of deal. And she's like, you're not being much of a comforter right now. Like, my husband's just gone off to possibly his death, and I have to be here doing nothing and just sit and wait until I have news of his death. And at this, she decides she's going to kind of take a stand as well. And so she gets in front of everybody and she is shouting out, like, are we going to allow these men to go off and fight a dragon and us just sit here and do nothing? And she kind of starts rallying up the troops a bit. And the wives of Dorlas and Hunthor are quickly on her side. And they're like, yeah, we're going to go and support our husbands. And we're going to go and be by their sides as they go and slay this dragon. And because of this, because she's trying to get a few people on her side, more and more people are like, yeah, let's go. And part of this is because, one, people just like Ninyo and they want to be her friend. And so they're like, yeah, we'll support you in this. And two, they also have an opinion now of Turin and of Gurthang that Turin is somehow invincible and that not even a dragon could take him down. So basically they're going with Ninyo because they think they're going to see something cool. They're going to see history in the making and they want to see Turin kill a dragon. That's awesome. And so the people are on her side and they march out and they start heading towards Kabed and Aras. And as they get closer, and it's now time to rest, the adrenaline's kind of worn off, the excitement's kind of worn off, and they're all sitting there like, oh no, what have we done? Oh, we are so close to this dragon right now. And so everybody's a little hesitant about what's happening, and it says that Ninyo kind of sits apart from everybody, and she's just afraid of what's going to happen next. Finally, we have Brandir, who stayed behind, and he's upset because before nobody was listening to him because they were listening to Turin. Now nobody's listening to him because they were listening to Ninyo. Nobody is heeding his warning that, hey, there's a dragon and you all are wanting to get closer to this. And so Brandir is like, fine, if nobody wants to listen to me, then I'm not going to give any more advice anymore. Nobody's going to come to me for healing. No one should be coming to me for advice. And he breaks his staff and he's like, forget it. I'm nobody's leader now. And he says, I have nothing now. I've got nothing. Nobody's following anymore. I'm not a leader. I'm not a healer. I've got nothing. All I have is the love of Ninyo. And because of his love for Ninyo, he decides he's going to take his crutch and he's going to follow her and be with her and support her in whatever happens next. And that is how this section ends, with everybody getting closer to this freaking dragon. So there you have it. Is another section. We've got 2 more sections left, but 1 more week. I'm going to combine them and get done with this because this has been a lot of Turin, which is fine. But yeah, this was interesting because we see Turin making this decision of not running, sort of following his emotions in one sense of not running away from a problem, and he's going to face it, which is admirable and good. Again, we're seeing this growth from Turin. A little too late, but it's there. But he's still not taking the advice of others. Dorlas is telling him, hey, you're sending us in a way that's dangerous for us. Not necessarily talking about the dragon, just like the literal path that they're on is dangerous. And what if, maybe we should do something different. And at one point, Dorlas and Hunthor also ask him, like, hey, how exactly are we supposed to get to this dragon? Like, it's not like his body is going to be over the gorge and we can, like, stab him from underneath. How are we going to do this? And Turin's just like, yeah, I got this, bro. Like, doesn't listen to anybody's advice. He has a motive in mind. He's got a mission and he's going for it. He's not swaying from his mission, I guess. So in one hand, we see him growing. And then in the other hand, you're still not taking the advice of those around you who might know more than you. Also, we see Nino making an impulsive, emotional decision, which seems to be the trait of the Children of Hurin. And she is not only endangering herself, but endangering everybody around her by gathering all these people and bringing them closer to the dragon. And it's not like they're going to fight by the side of Turin and Dorlas and Hunthor, but they're just going so that they're not, basically so they're doing something. So they're not just sitting around and waiting. They're moving closer to danger. And that's it doesn't make sense. It's a very foolish decision. So again, you see the Children of Hurin making these impulsive decisions. They're obviously charismatic because they're getting all of these people to follow and listen to them and not listen to Brandir, which isn't a great contrast, because Brandir is essentially asking them to just hide, and I think a lot of them would probably take that as just cowering and waiting for defeat, whereas Brandir might be seeing that more as like holding their own for as long as they can. So his advice isn't great either, to just sit and wait for death to come to them. But Niniel and Turin advice really isn't great either, to, instead of wait for death to come to them, just go to death themselves. So yeah, nobody's really making great decisions here, which isn't new. This is the Children of Hurin, and nobody here makes smart decisions. But yeah, there you go. Everybody's going. We have Brandir, who is uncomfortable to read. Even knowing that Turin and Niniel are siblings and they're married with one another, it's uncomfortable to read Brandir just, I guess, simping over Niniel and like not getting the hint that, dude, she's married. You need to back off a little bit. And she's been married for like a year almost. And so, yeah, he's uncomfortable to read. But there you go. That's this section. I hope you guys enjoyed it. One more week, and then I'll be done with Turin, because I'm sure everybody's getting tired of me making videos of Turin. So one more week, and we'll be done with this. But I hope you all enjoyed, and I hope you guys have a wonderful, blessed week. And of course, I hope your homes are filled with food and cheer. Bye.